Hello YouTubers, this is the Gold Standard 00924 coming at you with another video. Now for today, I'll be doing a WrestleMania pay-per-view review, kind of a WrestleMania rewind, just to kind of hype us up for this year's WrestleMania. Um, I haven't made a video for the past couple weeks. Just trying to take up from making constant videos. But now that I'm back, I figured just kind of kick off the whole WrestleMania season, even though it's already began. But now that WrestleMania 29 is approaching, I figured just to kind of look back at some of the WrestleManias, and the video that I'll be doing for today is reviewing WrestleMania 19. Now this is basically the 10th anniversary this week, and back then, this is one of the pay-per-views I really enjoyed, and even looking back, it still really holds up well, at least in my opinion. But I really enjoyed the show from left to right, or up and down. I'm not sure how you want to put it, but the card on paper looked really stacked. Based on the talent and the roster that they had at the time. It's just amazing how things have changed since then. And for some reason WWE doesn't really mention this pay-per-view very much. I don't know why, but like before Brock Lesnar came back, WrestleMania 19 kind of gets overlooked. Most people might remember it for Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho, and matches like that, and they don't really mention about anything else. And Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar, they headlined the pay-per-view as well, and Angle went to TNA, Brock Lesnar went on to do, UFC, and for some reason, and I think because of that, he doesn't really talk about the pay-per-view as much, or at least one of the reasons. But given that they were wrestling in different rival organizations, so that might be one of those reasons. But I know IWC kind of mentions this pay-per-view as well, but I find this pay-per-view very underrated. I don't know, it just really is. But at least in WWE's eyes. But let's just get started. For the show opening contest, we have is the Cruiserweight title match with Matt Hardy, who is the reigning champion, taking on Rey Mysterio. This was a really fun opening match. Just a lot of fast-paced action here. Just stuff that you would see in the back when they had the Cruiserweight division. Just a lot of just something to get the crowd really going. Rey Mysterio did his thing. He was basically the highlight of this match. Not to take anything away from Matt Hardy, but Rey Mysterio did his high-flying moves. He did his fair share, and Matt Hardy, just in his prime, with the Mattitude gimmick. I think that was probably one of his biggest push. His other push being like in 2005, during that short stint he had with Edge, but I'm not gonna mention about personal feelings. But Matt Hardy, it's just kind of a shame what happened afterwards. But he was the Cruiserweight champion, and I just liked something about his gimmick, but it just cracked me up. And they always talk about, like in his entrance, he was always talking about just stuff that he liked and what he dislikes. Getting back to the match, like I said, it was a really good opener. I'm not gonna spoil too much and like mention about spot like every move did, but if you're interested, just check it out. You may type on YouTube. I'm pretty sure they have the match around here, but unfortunately the match was pretty short, so I just gave it about 2.25 stars. It was going good, but it kind of left you wanting for more. But it is what it is. So Matt Hardy, Rey Mysterio, 2.25 stars. Fun opener. The second match we have here is what was supposed to be a tag match, which was supposed to consist of the Undertaker and Nathan Jones taking on Big Show and A-Train. But on the pre-show on Sunday Night Heat, Nathan Jones was attacked backstage by the FBI, and because of that, the match was reduced to a handicap match. And Undertaker, I think this is probably one of very forgettable Undertaker WrestleMania matches because, of course, obviously the streak's on the line, but I mean, this is one. I think this is, to my knowledge, this is the only multi-man match that Undertaker's had at WrestleMania. I mean, most of them, for the most part, have been like one-on-one matches, but this one's supposed to be like a handicap match for the most part. But I guess I mean, they tried to cram them in like early in the match, and I don't know. I mean, this match is probably the weakest out of the whole WrestleMania pay-per-view card. Um, but eventually, like Nathan Jones like interfered afterwards, and Undertaker basically won the match, doing the tombstone pile driver. So it's not really much to talk about. I mean, it didn't really last very long. It lasted about like 9-10 minutes at most, which is pretty unusual for a WrestleMania match that consists of the Undertaker. So yeah, it was probably like I said, the weakest match of the card. About 2 stars. But I think Undertaker could have been put up with much better opponents. But I don't know. Then we get to the women's championship match, between, Victoria, who is the women's champion, taking on Jazz, as well as Trish Stratus. For a women's title match, I mean, I was quite impressed with it. Victoria, just, I don't know, she was really, really over back then, with that psycho gimmick that she had, and she used to come out with the theme song by Tattoo. I mean, it was a pretty popular song at the time. I don't know. I mean, it was kind of probably her 2002, 2004 probably could be her golden years, and as well as being in the WWE's concern. I mean, the women's division just wasn't really just piss breaks and stuff like this. I mean, it was nothing like that, and it's really a shame what the women's division has become these days. But I mean, the match was really, really good. Um, just some back and forth action here. Jazz and Victoria, who they were the heels at the time, so they were kind of working on Trish Stratus. They were kind of ganging up on her in some cases in the match. Um, and there was like a one moment where Steven Richards like tried to interfere in the match because he was Victoria's manager at the time, and there was like a little funny chair spot, or like where like Steven Richards tried to hit Trish with a chair, but then Trish dodged it, and then like Steven Richards like it was kind of like what The Rock did at one point, because like he smacked the chair on the ring rope, but then it bounced back and deflected onto him. I mean, it was kind of like that, and then basically Trish Stratus countered the Widow's Peak from Victoria, and then like Victoria tried to go for like a Irish. No, she was going for a running attack, but then like Trish Stratus came back with a chick kick, and basically Trish Stratus got the 1-2-3, and Trish Stratus won the women's title. But it was a really cool match. 3 stars. I mean, it's very rare for me to give a women's title match like you know something higher than a 2, because it's like I said, I mean the women's division was just rocking back then, and it's kind of a shame to see what it is now. But I'm not gonna rant too much on that. But yeah, I really enjoyed the triple threat women's match. Then we have another triple threat match, but this time it's for the tag team titles. We have Team Angle, Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin versus Chris Benoit and Rhyno versus Los Guerreros. This was a really good match as well. Not great, but I mean, the match only lasted like about 7 minutes, and they weren't really given a lot of time. I mean, I guess they put Benoit and Guerrero in there because they didn't really have much to do, and they were kind of overshadowed by some of the other top stars at the time. Especially a couple of legends that were just there for for maybe one match or 2 matches. I mean, they didn't really stick around for very long. But I mean, this match for what it was fine. I mean, it could have been like a TLC match, but they didn't really get enough time, because of because there were like about 5 main event matches on this card, so sorry for there. But I guess they just try to make it up by putting the tag team titles on here, or at least put I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I mean it was an okay, all right match, but it's nothing really home to write about. But Rhyno, I think this was like his only WrestleMania match that he had, but yeah, I mean the match was going on really well, and I think like Rhyno did a gore on like Charlie Haas or Shelton Benjamin, and then one of them like I think one of them like I don't remember, but I remember Rhyno doing like a gore, and then like one of the world's greatest tag team guys pinned one of their opponents to retain the tag titles. But yeah, I mean Team Angle, good tag team. It's really a shame they didn't really win a whole lot of tag titles after 2003, because it seems to be kind of like their only dominant year they had as far as being in the tag team. But for what it was, I mean it was still an enjoyable match. So 3 stars. Next match we have here is Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho. What more can I say? This is a really enjoyable match. Just some great back and forth here. You saw a couple brawls here and there. The build up to the match was just top notch. Just how much like Chris Jericho idolized Shawn Michaels and how he wanted to be like him, but and stuff like that. And it kind of it was built up pretty well. Going from December, and when Jericho eliminated Shawn Michaels in the Royal Rumble, like the first couple minutes of the Rumble, and just some really good action here, and just the match was just I don't know why I can't describe it. I mean I don't know, but I like the spots here. Shawn Michaels doing a body splash, and Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho, like countering the pinfalls, like the sunset flip roll ups, and they keep countering back. Man, I mean, there was some really good stuff, but I don't know why my mind is just kind of beating ahead, because I mean, I saw this match like a few days ago on here, and I mean, it still really holds up really good. But it gets kind of overshadowed by their matches that they had in 2008, when they actually had like when their feud was really personal. But unlike that, I mean, this WrestleMania 19 match was kind of like a battle for respect sort of type of situation. But at the end of the day, Shawn Michaels came up on top, and Michaels and Jericho exchanged handshakes, showcasing sportsmanship. And then like Jericho low blowed Shawn Michaels, and so they were kind of teasing a face turn for a moment, but Jericho was like "fuck you," or well, he didn't say the F word, but he just kind of just gave him kind of a knockout. But it was a really good match. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you check it out. It's really good. About 4.5 stars. And then we get to the World Heavyweight title match. Triple H taking on Booker T. Triple H was the World Heavyweight Champion. He won it from Shawn Michaels in that 3 Stages of Hell match at Armageddon. I mean, Triple H's reign of terror. I mean, I know a lot of people criticize that title reign he had in 03, and I admit I couldn't stand it either. The match he had with Scott Steiner was just blah. And his match was Booker T. I mean, the build up to it, and Triple H, just making these shoot promos on like Booker T, and just making all these racial remarks at him. I mean, I heard somewhere like Booker T was supposed to win, but then like Booker T was kind of going under retirement, but that didn't happen. And I guess like Triple H's reign continued. I mean, it was still a good match, but I mean, it's really a shame that Booker T never really won a world title until much later on, and that was when he was a heel. So I would have loved to have seen a babyface Booker T run. I mean, he was really over back then, but I mean it. I mean, ending the match. I mean, it's very controversial. I mean, a lot of people thought it was kind of underwhelming, but man, I mean, it was nice to see Booker T doing the Harlem Hangover, a move that he used to do back when he was in WCW, with Harlem Heat and stuff. But Triple H conquered Booker T. He retained the title, and we had to sit through about, I don't know, like 7-8 months, I'm estimating, and until like H lost the belt to Goldberg at Unforgiven that year. But it was just, I'm not gonna even go there. But Triple H versus Booker was 3 stars. Good match, but could have been a lot better, especially the ending, which kind of overshadows the whole match. But that's just my opinion. And then we get to the triple main event. So we have Hulk Hogan taking on Vince McMahon in a street fight. Hulk Hogan came back around January-ish. I think it was like a little after the Royal Rumble. And then, Hogan and McMahon were having a couple segments with each other. And then at No Way Out, when they did the Rock Hogan rematch, they did like a Montreal Screwjob finish, and then kind of sets up the Hogan McMahon feud. So that's kind of how it started out. And I mean, they also bring up the whole scandal trial from the early 90s. So they kind of point that out. And at a time when Biss was down, and Hogan was kind of doing his movies at the time, and I mean, it wasn't until like 1993 when he left. He had his last match with Yokozuna, I believe, and so it kind of culminates into this 20 years in the making feud. At least that's what they dubbed it as. I mean, for Mr. McMahon, I mean, he was actually really good in this match. I mean, I like that leg drop he did on Hogan from the to the announce table. I mean, but for those two guys, I mean, you didn't think that it was just been a squash match, knowing a McMahon match. But this was actually pretty good. I mean, despite the fact it was only, like I said, it was a street fight. No holds barred, anything goes. Like I said, and we also see like Roddy Piper coming back for that appearance, and it looked like he was gonna attack Vince, but instead he attacked Hogan. So it was nice to see Roddy Piper, back, and knowing they're different, knowing Roddy Piper bring up their his rivalry with Hogan. But eventually Hulk Hogan fought back, and then it took a few leg drops for Hulk Hogan, to win the match. So I mean, this is probably a really good, for those two guys that aren't really, I'm not gonna say the O word, but for those guys, based on their age, I mean, it was a really good match. Maybe great, but maybe that's a little pushing it. But I had it be under like 4 stars. Maybe that's a little pushing it. But unless I change my mind, but Hogan McMahon was still pretty good. I liked it. And then the next match we have is the third series between Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. This was also Stone Cold Steve Austin's last match. It was never announced at the time that it was turning out to be his retirement match, because they never labeled it as such. Because I mean, I never thought it was going to be Austin's last match, but especially if you watch like the, I'm going to get there later. I was about to spoil it, but Rock and Austin. What can I say? This was a really good match. I wouldn't say it's their best encounter, because I think a lot of people will agree that WrestleMania 17 was was kind of like the best match that they had with each other. But this one's just as probably good, but just not as great as 17. I'm not sure about their 15 match, but that was like back when they were still in their prime, you know, when they were still fresh and new in the main event scene. But there was a lot of overbooking and stuff, but I'm not sure that would be rated higher. But but this one's still pretty good. I like the part where like Rock and Austin were stealing each other's finishers. That was a pretty cool part. And then and The Rock being like the Hollywood heel that he is, you know, and just taking Austin's vest and just mocking Austin. Um, what else? Rock. I mean, it was you know coming back, with a new look and with all these tattoos, a shaved head. He seemed like to be an entirely different person. When he came back in like January 2003. Just this massive overhaul from like the last time we saw him was with like Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Um, I mean, at the time, it was just amazing. But Brock was still pretty good as a heel or face. It doesn't matter. Um, but this was Austin's last match, like I said. I don't think it was turned out to be that way. Maybe they didn't know that it was his last match, but especially where he had to get carried out at the end of the match, and his knee was given out on him, and I think that was a sign that it was going to be his last match, but it was, like I said, it was never dubbed as such. So, but unofficially, man, I'm losing train of thought here. But overall, Rock and Austin was still a really good match. Rock took about Rock 2 or 3 Rock bottoms to beat Austin. So, they made it seem like Rock can't beat Austin, but that was kind of like the motivation here. But now it's like Rock's trying to prove them wrong, and basically Rock beat Austin to kind of make it 2-1. So this was still a good match, not great. So 3.25 stars. And then we get to our main event, which is for the WWE Championship. We have the champion Kurt Angle taking on Brock Lesnar. This was probably not what you expect for a WrestleMania match, especially when it's all about, especially, since these guys were more about, the wrestling aspect more than like the entertainment sort of thing. But for what it was, this was really good. Brock Lesnar, trying to chase, trying to get back the WWE title that he lost at Survivor Series, and Paul Heyman turned on Brock, and they were doing these kind of transitional title runs briefly, with the Big Show, and he lost the belt to Kurt Angle the following month at Armageddon. And then it turned out that Angle and Heyman were actually in it all along. And so yeah, he had a little short babyface run for Angle, and then he just went back heel like the SmackDown after Unforgiven, or Armageddon, but this match was really good. I know that Angle was trying to undergo neck surgery at the time, and but there was a lot of good, just a lot of mat wrestling here. Two of the guys that used to wrestle in like NCAA or other college wrestling promotions, or schools. But a lot of people will remember this match because of the botch between when Brock Lesnar tried to go for the shooting star press, and then he instead of landing on his body, he landed his head on Kurt Angle's neck. And Brock Lesnar suffered the concussion, and it was just really good. I want to say it's better than a SummerSlam match, although some people might disagree with that. But I think their 19 match was really probably one of the best encounters in my opinion. The Iron Man match was fine too, but Angle and Lesnar was kind of a clean, kind of like it wasn't like any like cheap tactics whatsoever. But Brock Lesnar ended up beating Kurt Angle after an F5, And so, Lesnar wins the WWE title, becoming a two-time WWE champion. And, Angle and Lesnar, shook hands, showcased sportsmanship. And, that's basically how Kurt Angle, turned face afterwards. But after the match, Kurt Angle took time off to kind of repair neck surgery. And Brock Lesnar continued wrestling despite the concussion, feuding with John Cena and Big Show. But Angle Lesnar was still a pretty good match. 4 stars. Overall, WrestleMania 19, if I had to give it a score, I want to give it maybe like a 9 out of 10. I mean, it could have been maybe the greatest, but there were some things that kind of put it down a bit, that kind of turned me off, like the ending, the Triple H Booker T, when Booker T should have come out on top. But maybe that's just me being biased because I like Booker T. The Undertaker match was kind of there, really. But other than that, I mean, it's still a pretty, very enjoyable pay-per-view. I mean, this is the last time, I watched it with my dad and my sister. So I guess they were kind of, it was around the time when they were kind of tuning away from wrestling slowly. But this was still a really enjoyable pay-per-view. So, like I said, 9 out of 10. Very enjoyable WrestleMania pay-per-view. Yeah, that's basically it for this video. So, until next time, this is the Gold Standard 00924, signing out.